I've been asked to kick off the show by talking not about any particular sin, but about the subject of sin in general, or at least that's what was suggested to me, that I bring something that was either directly or indirectly related to the topic. And I don't think that there is anything more openly aggressive that you can do to a writer than give them an open topic. But I came anyway, especially a topic that I, as I imagine a lot of you, have a pretty queasy relationship with, like talking about sin. When you're talking about sins, like individual sins, then things get like pretty fun. But talking about sin, that's where the ugly stuff starts to surface. I mean, as a queer human being, I am a sin, so I speak with that position of authority, certainly. But as far as any other authoritative approach, I wasn't sure where to go, so I did some digging, and it turns out, much to my surprise and shock, that sin might not even be the word that we all think it is. This is something I just learned for the first time, like 4 days ago, that during the few hundred years that what became Christian mythology and folklore, and eventually the monolith, during that time, both in Greek and in Hebrew, sin was not being used to describe evil or malfeasance, at least not outside of these folkloric texts. Sin was actually a highly technical term. It was used to describe the distance between a projectile, like an arrow or a spear especially, and its intended target, a bullseye or whatever target it was. So sin, during all of those few hundred years, was being used just to mean the distance from the target. And that spun my brain around, but it did confirm something that I have suspected for a long time, that anything that is that important that takes as much explanation as I just gave you is definitely the work of a certain kind of mind. I think that God is a dork. I think that God is a dork. I think that he is a nerd. I think that he is an uber robo-dweeb. And I recognize that pattern in myself. I have evidence to support my claim. 1, giraffes. That's it. That's all I brought. Seriously, giraffes though? It takes one to know one. I recognize the work of a very smart kid who gets easily distracted. But, lucky for us, knowing their weaknesses, God did the responsible thing and created us through evolution. And I have to imagine that they spend a lot of the time up there or around and everywhere looking at us and being constantly befuddled by how hard it is for us to figure out what we are supposed to do. See, we've got it wired here. The miracle of natural selection is that what we want is the same thing as what we need. We need fuel, we want food, we need safety, we want family, we need to reproduce, we wanna fuck. The answers have always been the same, ever since we first started looking up in the sky as monkeys, as microbes crying out, "Please, God, when will you be done creating us?" And God speaks back. For me, in the voice of Tom Waits, "My children, I love you too much to make it that easy. You can't order up a piece of creation like you're looking at a fast food menu. This isn't some trick that I do at parties. I didn't create the world for decoration. I created it as a living, breathing masterpiece of chance and physics and thunder and lust. I didn't put you on earth so that you would waste your lives looking up at heaven. Think about it. Use your brains. Oh, what? You don't yet have brains? Well, then evolve them. I'm God, I'm not fucking Santa Claus. You all keep saying how the Lord works in mysterious ways, but I gotta tell you, my tiny, beautiful loves, I've always been very consistent. I have given you the greatest gift that you can comprehend, which is always to give you nothing. So you ask for guidance, and I do you one better. I give you choice. I give you sin, that you may know the ecstasy of defiance and the unfathomable desolation of loneliness. You ask for comfort. I give you the desire that keeps you alive. You cry forth to heaven, God, love me. And I bless you every time with icy silence. So you have no choice but to love one another. You're too important for me to create you. You're going to have to go on creating yourselves.